Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're diving into something we all have but rarely think about how it's made. We're going to become architects of our own minds to explore a really fundamental question. How is our personality actually built?
Really think about it for a second. Are you the exact same person you were 10 years ago? Are the core parts of who you are completely fixed, or is there some wiggle room? It's a question we all kind of wrestle with, right?
Well, what if we looked at it in a totally different way? What if your personality isn't some rigid, unchangeable thing, but more like a structure? A unique piece of architecture that you, yourself, are actively building every single day of your life. Now that is the powerful idea we're digging into today.
So every great building has to start with a plan, a blueprint. Let's take a look at the blueprint for our own personality.
Okay, so here's the more official definition, but check out the key words here. Lifelong process, building and refining. See, it's not about being a finished product. It's all about the ongoing construction of those patterns, the little quirks, the big reactions that make you uniquely you.
All right, so if we're building something, you know we're going to need materials. And in the world of psychology, the two main suppliers have always been what we call nature and nurture.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting because we're going to reframe that old debate. It's not a fight. Think of nature as the blueprint, that initial genetic design you're born with. And nurture, well, that's the construction site. It's the world, the environment, everything around you that affects how that blueprint actually gets built. So let's get a little more specific. From the nature pile, you get things like your basic temperament. Are you naturally a bit more cautious, or are you the first person to jump in? And from the nurture pile, you get, well, pretty much everything else. Your family, your culture, the friends you make, and those huge life experiences that definitely leave their mark.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. The main point here is that these two forces are not at war with each other. They're collaborators. They're a team. Your genetic blueprint gets activated and shaped by your experiences on the construction site of your life.
So how does all this construction actually happen? Well, it's not like you just wake up one day and bam, you have a personality. Nope. It's a series of phases that unfolds over our entire lives.
I love this timeline because it's such a great way to picture it. In childhood, we're basically pouring the concrete foundation. Then in our teenage years, oh boy, we're putting up all this identity scaffolding, trying on different hats, seeing what fits. In early adulthood, we start actually furnishing the rooms, our career, our family, our core values. And later on, yeah, it's all about maintenance and maybe a few bold renovations.
And of course, at every one of these stages, we face challenges. Learning to trust other people, figuring out who we really are, committing to someone, each of these is like a construction problem we have to solve. And the solutions we come up with, they become a permanent part of our own personal architecture.
Okay, so this brings us to a really, really empowering idea. If we are the architects, does that mean we can, remodel? This is the big one, isn't it? Can a lifelong introvert really decide to become more of an extrovert? Can a super messy person actually become organized? Can we knock down some of those old walls and build completely new rooms?
Well, the data gives us a pretty fascinating answer. When we look at what psychologists call the Big Five personality traits, we see that some parts of our architecture, like how extroverted or open we are, tend to be pretty stable. They're kind of like the load-bearing walls of our personality. But other things, like how conscientious we are, show a lot more room for change. So stability doesn't mean unchangeable, but it does mean it takes real focused effort.
So how do you actually do it? Well, research points to a pretty clear process. It starts with setting intentional goals, like deciding you want to be more assertive. It involves embracing new roles, like becoming a parent or a manager that kind of force you to act in new ways. And, this is crucial, it requires self-reflection and the consistent day-in, day-out work of building new habits. That's how you rewire the building. So after all this building, all this renovating, when is the project finally done? When is it finished?
And here it is. This is probably the most important takeaway of all. There is no final version of you. Your personality isn't some finished monument that you just go and visit. It is a living, breathing home that you are constantly maintaining, improving, and actually living inside of. You are both the resident and the architect.
So I'll just leave you with this. You've seen the blueprint, you know the materials, and you hold the tools to do some renovations. The only question left is, what will you build next?